by Sunbeam, makers of the new Shave Master shaver with 3 real blades for a close electric shave. The all-new Sunbeam Shave Master. Now, let's all play What's My Line?
And now let's meet our award-winning panel of What's My Line. First, the delightful star of stage and television, Miss Arlene Francis.
And now, a gentleman who once upon a time was parliamentary private secretary to Winston Churchill, was in the House of Commons for many years, now in the House of Lords, now in the House of What's My Line, an absolutely glorious Anglo-American parley, Lord Boothby.
And now, a great journalist with a legendary reputation on both sides of the Atlantic, Miss Kilgallen.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And now I should like to introduce our noble president of Random House, Bennett, Lord Cerf.
And here is our polysyllabic panel moderating paragon, John Charles Francis Crowan Daly.
Just speaking at random, he couldn't get my name right if this program lasted another 10 years. There's no Francis in it, Bennett.
Well, the Crowan is right.
The Crowan was right. He's doing very well because Crowan comes from the Gaelic and it's spelled C-R-O-G-H-A-N. He usually says Croghan, but tonight he got it right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to What's My Line. After this happy beginning, I'm looking for a very successful night of confounding the panel, particularly Bennett Cerf. We will also have a famous mystery guest a little bit later in the program, and we'll meet our first challenger after this. And now let's meet our first contestant. Will you enter and sign in, please? Frida Rowe. Is that right? Is it Miss or Mrs. Rowe?
Mrs.
Mrs. Rowe, and where are you from, Mrs. Rowe?
Falls Church, Virginia.
Falls Church, Virginia. It's nice to have you with us. May I present the panel, Mrs. Rowe? Now, would you join me over here, please? Do you know how we keep score, Mrs. Rowe?
Yes.
In that event, we'll let the audience here in the theater and those who are watching at home know exactly what your line is. All right. Panel, we can tell you that Mrs. Rowe is salaried and deals in a service, and we'll begin the general questioning with Murgatroyd Cerf.
Murgatroyd. Sounds as though you've been seeing Camelot last night. Mrs. Rowe, may I ask the exact location of Falls Church? Is it anywhere near Richmond?
About 50 miles, maybe 80. I'm not too good
No,
with
actually, I think 50 miles from Richmond would be a pretty good
North
count.
of Richmond, between Richmond and Washington, would you say?
It's in the area between Richmond and Washington.
Do you possibly perform a service for a non-profit-making organization?
Yes.
Would you have anything to do with government work?
No.
1 down and 9 to go, Miss Francis.
Can men and women avail themselves of your service?
Yes, ma'am.
Would they come to you for your service?
Not usually.
Not usually. I think we would have to agree that in the great preponderance of cases, Mrs. Rowe would have to go to them to give the service. So I'll give you a no. That's 2 down and 8 to go, Lord Boothby.
Do you enjoy the service that you render?
Yes, sir.
Do you think it does other people good?
I hope so.
Yeah. Do you think it would do me good?
Absolutely.
It would do me good, yeah. Would I like to render this service myself? Could I render it?
I would say if you had the abilities, background, and training to render the service, you would take pleasure, certainly, in rendering it to others, yes.
Would I do it indoors or outdoors?
Indoors.
Indoors. Would I wear any kind of a uniform if I did it?
Yes.
An overall, that kind of thing?
No.
No, not an overall. That's 3 down and 7 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
John, I may have gotten confused, but did Mrs. Rowe say that she generally went to the people in order to perform her service?
Perform the service, yes.
And she wears a distinguishing uniform, which is not an overall. But if you were wearing it now, we'd know what you did. Is that right?
Yes.
Does it have any insignia on it?
It does not necessarily, but it could. I think that's a fair answer, isn't it, Mrs. Rowe?
Would your work cause you to have anything to do with food or drink?
Sometimes.
Would it be, in any sense, considered domestic work?
No.
4 down and 6 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Mrs. Rowe, would you have, in the course of your services, anything to do with doctors?
Yes.
Would the uniform that you wear in any way resemble a nurse's uniform?
Yes.
Is it a white uniform that you wear? Are you a nurse?
Yes. A very particular nurse. Just for fun, let's see if you can figure what particular fact of the moment of history makes Mrs. Rowe's present assignment.
Did you have something to do with the birth of the Kennedy baby?
Good going, Bennett. Wonderful. Actually, Mrs. Rowe is one of the 3 nurses on a, 24-hour basis who's been taking care of the President-elect's son at Georgetown Hospital in Washington, but you were trained in Alliance, Ohio, in the city hospital there.
Who does the baby look like?
Winston Churchill, they all do.
Thank you. Looks just like a baby. Very
just like a
sweet.
baby. Oh, that's wonderful. Well, I must say, I'm sure that this is an exciting experience for you as a nurse, and certainly a profession which brings much joy and much sense of service. But this particular assignment, I think, will stay in your mind as the fact of Master Kennedy's birth will stay in ours for a long time.
It will.
And thank you very much for being our guest on What's My Line. Very nice beginning, panel. Now let's see what we can do with the second challenger. Will you enter and sign in, please? And this is going to be a doozer, I'll promise you that. Jean Bean. Is that right? That's onomatopoeia or something, I'm sure, Mr. Bean. Where are you from?
Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Bean, may I present the panel? Mr. Bean, will you join me over here, sir? You know how we keep score, Mr. Bean?
Yes, sir, I do.
Good. If you know how we keep score, we'll let the audience in the theater, the folks at home, know exactly what your line is. All right. Panel, we can tell you that Mr. Bean is self-employed, that he deals in a service, and we'll begin the general questioning with Arlene Francis.
Mr. Bean, is there anything advisory about your work?
No.
1 down and 9 to go, Lord Boothby.
Do you think that the service you render does good or harm? Good rather than harm? Do you think
yes.
it's a beneficial service? And you enjoy doing it?
Let me say, sir, that it can be considered in a very general term to do some good in that those who would seek out the service would be seeking a certain result.
Yeah.
Certainly, when Mr. Bean gets through with what he does, they have the result they were seeking.
Well, I would like to ask Mr. Bean in that case whether he thinks that I'm the sort of person who would like to receive the service that he gives.
Possibly.
And might need it.
No, I don't think you'd need it. We'll have to give you a no on that. That's 2 down and 8 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Is this service performed upon or for people rather than animals?
Yes.
Do you see the people upon whom you perform your services?
Yes, I do.
Do you occasionally touch them?
No.
No, and there's an assumption there that you must be careful of, that with relationship to the people and Mr. Bean. That's 3 down and 7 to go, Mr.
Really?
Cerf.
Mr. Bean, do the people usually come to you for this service rather than you're going to them?
Yes.
Do they come willingly,
Yes, I do.
voluntarily?
Yes.
When they come for the service, are they in any particular condition that would not be considered normal?
4 down and 6 to go, Miss Francis.
Mr. Bean, would women come to you more than men for your service?
No.
5 down and 5 to go, Lord Boothby.
Do you use any kind of instrument
No, sir.
on...
Yes, well, with your permission, I will correct that. There are certain implements necessary to the proper performance of the service which Mr. Bean delivers to those who come to seek this particular service, right?
Yes,
Some
sir.
implements.
He has got the tools of his trade.
He has the tools of his trade.
Yeah, and
Interesting.
in order to carry out your work, you wear a uniform of some kind.
Yes, sir.
Is it an official uniform with buttons and insignia?
No.
No, it's not an official uniform. It's more a work uniform than anything else. 6 down and 4 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Mr. Bean, would you consider your work more physical than mental?
Yes.
Is any noise made when you're working?
Yes.
Do you knock things down rather than build them up?
Yes.
Well, I would say, let us say that Mr. Bean participates in something in which we would have to agree that an ultimate result is the knocking down of things.
All right. Do you have anything to do with any kind of explosives or firearms?
Yes.
Oh, heavens. No. Now where am I? Do you have anything to do with great big explosives? Or something very big that could explode?
Well, what would you mean by big?
Bigger than I am.
You mean the explosive agent would have to be bigger than you are?
No, the thing exploded.
The thing exploded would have to be bigger than you are. This puts me in a very indelicate position.
I'm so glad.
Well, let me say that it's very likely that what is involved in the explosion could be considered to be bigger than you are in its initial state.
In its what?
Could be considered to be bigger than you are in its initial state.
In its initial state?
Yeah.
All right, well, that's what I'm talking about, in its initial state. Is it solid rather than liquid?
Yes.
Is it something owned by individuals as opposed to the government?
Yes.
The thing that is exploded?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Do you blow up buildings?
No.
No. 7 down and 3 to go, but congratulations,
think so.
Dorothy. You will see why you're congratulated in a bit. Mr. Cerf.
I have in mind all these foods that get exploded now, like puffed rice and things. Now, I guess that's wrong because I don't like the way you're trying to lead me on, Daly. Do you have anything to do...
Pickle, pop, puff rice, you mean? Huh?
Now, do you have anything to do with anything that is eaten or consumed?
No, sir.
That makes it 8 down and 2 to go, Miss Francis. Going to give you 1 more minute.
Does your explosive work take place out of doors?
Yes.
Is it in any way experimental?
No.
No. 9 down and 1 to go, Lord Boothby.
Does it make you sweat when you're doing it?
If it doesn't, it certainly should, sir.
Oh, it's a real physical effort.
Yes, I think we'd have to agree there.
Has it got something to do with growing things in the countryside?
No, but you came awfully close, and I'm proud of you all, because actually what Mr. Bean does is a human bomb act. He blows himself up.
Oh. What do you mean?
He gets into a box 3 by 6 by 3 made of corrugated material and plywood. There's a thin steel plate that hangs over his head to protect him from the fire. And how many sticks of dynamite do you have on top?
2 to 5.
2 to 5 sticks of dynamite. And he has an assistant that stands 100 feet or yards.
100 feet away.
100 feet away, and then when he advises the assistant that he has cleared all the air from his lungs, a boom, she lets go. But there is a momentary vacuum, as you'd find a vacuum at the heart of a hurricane, for instance. He has cleared his lungs so that the pressure is, in a sense, equalized, and he comes out of it with nothing except a crew cut.
Mr. Bean, may I ask you one question?
Yes, sir.
What do you do for an encore?
No wonder he sweats.
Well, Mr. Bean, it's an interesting way, I must say, to make a living, and thanks for being our guest. There's always the possibility that this would grow hair. We can look into it. We'll meet tonight's mystery guest in just a moment, but first, here is a word from our sponsor. And now we come to the special feature of our program, the appearance of our mystery celebrity. And as you all know, the panel has to blindfold itself at this point. Are the blindfolds all in place, panel?
Yes, sir.
Good.
Yep.
Will our mystery challenger enter and sign in, please? All right, panel, as you know, in the case of our mystery guest, we go to a different form of questioning. You ask one question at a time in turn, moving clockwise, and we'll begin with Dorothy Kilgallen.
Are you in motion pictures?
Oh, yes.
Mr. Cerf?
Do you also perform either on the stage or in nightclubs?
No, I don't.
I would say, if I may, to offer a correction, we would have to agree that our guest has performed on the stage. Sir? Mm-hmm. So that you'll not be misled, Bennett. Miss Francis?
Are you in a picture that is appearing now on Broadway?
Yes.
Lord Boothby?
Do you sing?
No.
Ever?
No, not you know, as a
Not
major
professionally.
performing talent. That's 1 down and 9 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
In the picture, do you portray an Oriental girl?
Yes.
Mr. Cerf?
Is the picture in which you're starring Susie Wong? Is it Nancy Kwan?
Nancy Kwan is right. Oh, I'm sorry. No, you see, Miss Nancy, you did very well.
No,
that isn't
I
the
didn't.
problem. The problem is that panel. They
But I
focus
thought
in so
she'd
quickly.
left town. And I got that little bit of voice, and I just had to ask a question.
Dorothy, you really got that.
Because I must say there's one thing that I envy you know. You were born in Hong Kong, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
I think this is the most exciting city on the face of Earth today. And beautiful,
It is very beautiful.
fascinating city.
And she's one of the most exciting actresses you've ever seen. Have you seen it, Susie Wong?
I have seen it, and I thoroughly
She's
agree with
absolutely
you.
adorable in it.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, actually, one thing I would be interested in, I know that you were, I think, understudy for the lead
Yes, I was.
on the Broadway play.
Well-
And you played in the touring company.
Yes.
You played the lead in the touring
No, I was
company.
understudying, too.
Understudying in the touring
Yes, I
company?
was only with the play for about a month.
About a month. By what route did you come to stardom in the film? If this is not invading in private affairs.
Well, when I was understudying, when we were in Toronto, I was under contract to Ray Stark, the producer of Susie Wong, and he phoned me and said France was ill, France knew it, and to go to England right away.
And that's how you wound up in the starring?
And then I tested about 4 or 5 times for the movie, and then I tested again for it, and then I got the part.
Well, they were very lucky that you tested and that you went to England.
John, may I ask Miss Kwai a question? May I ask your nationality, Miss Kwai?
Half
Kwan.
Chinese and half English.
Half Chinese and half English? Which is which?
My father's Chinese and my mother's English and Scottish.
And you are alternately, I dare say, more English and Scottish than Chinese, and then more Chinese than you are English and Scottish, and it must be fun, too. Thank you very much for being our guest. It's lovely to have you. We'll have another contestant after this word from our alternate sponsor. And now let's meet another contestant. Will you enter and sign in, please? Right there. John R. Ball, right? Well, I must say, a little bit sorry it couldn't have been John Bull for Lord Boothby's sake. Where are you from, Mr. Ball?
I'm from Manhattan.
From Manhattan.
Yes.
Then you will recognize the panel, and most of them are neighbors of yours. Will you join me over here, please? You know how we keep score?
Yes, I'm familiar.
All right, fine. Then let's let the audience at home and those here in the theater know exactly what your line is. All right, panel. We will tell you that Mr. Ball is self-employed, that he deals in a product, and I think we ought to let you start this one off, Lord Boothby.
Well, I'd like to ask... Good evening, Mr. Ball. I would like to ask you whether this product could be produced in my own country, in England.
I think it can, yes.
And is in fact produced there.
Pardon me?
It is produced there.
I think it might be, yes.
Well, I would say certainly it is, sir. I have knowledge of this over there.
Is it the kind of product that you think that I would like?
You in particular, I'm not sure.
Well, most people would like it.
I should think so, yes. I should hope so, let's say.
I think what we have to come down to here, sir, is that those who would have an interest in it, let us say, would certainly like it.
Yeah, could I eat it?
No. 1 down and 9 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Mr. Bull, would you say that Excuse me, I wrote down Mr. Bull. I'm sorry. Mr. Bull, would you say that ladies would be more interested in your product than men?
I think it's about equal.
So that would give you a no. That's 2 down and 8 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Mr. Ball, is your product used to adorn or beautify the human form in any way?
Yes, I would say so.
Mm-hmm. Would it be an article? Could it be described as an article of attire?
I don't think we would describe it as an article of attire. That's 3 down and 7 to go, Miss Francis.
But it is worn upon the person.
You would say it is worn. Be very fair in saying it. Wouldn't you say that, Mr. Paul?
Definitely.
If I wore it, would I wear it from the waist up, someplace in that region from the waist up?
Yes,
I would think so, yeah. It'd be a bit untidy if you didn't, what?
Would it be seen by anybody that I might be talking to if I was wearing it? Would they be aware of it? I mean, would they know I had it on?
Well, I would say that certainly we would agree that it would be seen. As to whether or not they would be instantly or immediately aware that you had it on would depend on the degree of attention which they focused to that particular part of you upon which it was being worn.
Well, if it's good, I hope they'd be focusing on it. Would it be worn from the neck up?
Yes, yes.
It would. Would it be in the area of the face?
To a degree, we would say.
The only other area is the head.
No, I think that's a no answer. 4 down and 6 to go.
Uh-huh.
It's more of a luxury than a necessity.
I would not say in every case.
Well, I would say that I think that it's fair to say, if you will agree, Lord Boothby, it would be considered a luxury, but there are cases in which its use would be so necessary to well-being, etc., that you would then describe it as a non-luxury. We've got time for about one more question. You want to take a shot at it, Lord Boothby?
Hair, wigs or false hair?
2 pairs.
That's it. Well, we'll throw all the cards out. That is, Mr. Ball, it makes wigs, and actually when I tell you...
I'm president of John of Fifth Avenue.
John of Fifth Avenue. I'm sure that you've heard of him, all of you, but we were just hoping you wouldn't catch the name, and you didn't catch the name.
And we call them hair pieces, not
Hair pieces.
There are some uncouth types who describe them as rugs, but we don't allow that sort of thing on this show. Mr. Ball, thank you very much for being our guest. Nice to have you with us. Lord Boothby, may I say it's been very nice have you with us as a guest. We trust we will be honored again when you come to this country. Panel, it's been grand seeing all of you, and Bennett, it's nice you were here. And on that happy note, good night, Miss Arlene Francis.
Good night, dear John. Good night, Lord Boothby. It was a pleasure.
Good night, and it was a pleasure to me. And good night, Mr. Kilgallen.
Good night, I do hope
It was
you'll
a very
come
great
again.
pleasure. I enjoyed it enormously.
Thank you. Good night, Bennett.
John, may you never need the services of Mr. John Ball. Good night, sir.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for being with us on What's My Line.